Sorry about that mess. Uh, well, you're welcome to this second segment of our interaction on the situation in Iraq, specifically the war between Iran and Israel. There are many speculations that the United States may in, go in and intervene, or that the interactions, the war could result in another third world war. In the third world war, another world war. Some people are even speculating that that the Middle East will change for good, and that if the Ayatollah regime is overthrown, the Middle East may not be the same place as we know it today. But let's take a look at what has happened in the last since this thing started. We start with Israel, and I will give you a timeline of the conflicts of how things have taken place. Today is actually the eighth day since these conflicts started. Let me share my screen with you to show you some of the devastations that have been taking place in the Middle East. In the Middle East, the serious conflicts. Yeah, we'll start with Israel. Uh, when did this thing start? As at yesterday, the Israeli air defense radar, even this morning, witnessed or saw some uh, missiles and drones that were sent to Israel from Iran, and the the missiles and the UAVs that have been sent from Iraq. Some of them, especially the missiles, cause serious problems for the Israeli government. But of course, we all do know that the Israeli started this war when they decided to attack uh, Iran on the basis of the claim that Iran had reached a point of no return, that the point at which it had reached in the enrichment program, it was going to be easy within a matter of days that it will have the capability to develop nuclear weapons. And so between 15 and 18, when they started on the weekend, on the 13th, they went straight to eliminate some of the top leaders of the government of Iran, including top military officers. Between 15 and 18th, on those multiple attacks also took place at that period uh, on alleged nuclear sites and on sites, military sites. And the choice weapons of choice that the Israeli defense force used were fighter jets. At a point, they said up to 200 fighter jets had entered into Iran and did precision bombing of some areas. One of the first things they did was to suppress the air defense systems, and of course, several people were killed, including nuclear scientists, senior generals, and so forth. And then it followed up on between 15 and 18. These attacks were expanded to energy sites in Tehran, Isfahan, and Karaj, and they continued the airstrikes using the jets. 40 sites were hit that period, and these 40 sites that were hit, of course, you had civilians living in some of those areas. and so it wasn't possible to say that we were not going to affect the people that were attacked. You can see on the screen, the Israeli defense forces went on to deploy UAVs to destroy factories and destroyed a lot of defense systems that the Iranians had spent several years putting up. And of course, from the images that we have seen so far, like the one you are seeing on the screen, the missiles that were sent into Israel, they were so easy for the Israelis to take them out. So Israeli jets have been hunting, going around Iran, anywhere they saw or they see this type of missiles, they took them out and they succeeded in taking them. Whether that is the reason or not, the numbers of missiles that have been sent into Israel have reduced drastically. As at this afternoon, Iran was able to send some into Israel. You can see on the screen that planes are moving about in the skies of Tehran, destroying anything that the Israelis thought or assessed to be military targets or economic targets, as they have now expanded their attacks. On the other hand, the Iranians did reply to what the Israelis were doing just a few hours after. They sent in the first instance, they sent in uh, 170 drones and drones, there's 30 cruise missiles and 120 ballistic missiles. And of course, the idea behind this would have been to overwhelm the uh, defense infrastructure that had been put in place by the Israeli government, which had in previous times been fighting the Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis, and had been training themselves with the use of the interceptors. So they intercepted, according to them, most of the missiles that were sent by the Iranians. According to them, only between 5 to 10% of the missiles escaped the escaped the interception, and of course that percentage resulted in heavy damage to the to Israeli the Israelis, because there has been widespread destruction in Israel of infrastructures and facilities of the government, including, as I said some days ago, a hospital and as at this afternoon, a mosque that were hit by the attacks, by the missiles that were sent from Iran. The Iranians also have targeted and have successfully, like I said, hit several strategic areas, and have claimed that they had destroyed some military assets of Israel. In terms of death, the Israelis are reporting, as at yesterday, still less than 100 deaths, while Iraq has had over 600 deaths so far. The objective, according to Israel, of the war is to degrade Iran's strategic capabilities, suppress its missile and air defense system, eliminate senior figures. And as at yesterday, the Israeli government had added um, another objective, that is regime change. And the regime change for them will be to bring back to power the dynasty of the Shah, whose son has been living in the United States. The Iranians have been sending barrage of weapons into Israel, and they have uh, shown a lot of power and capacity in what they are doing. Of course, for both sides, there have been a lot of fake news that have been circulating, and many people around the world are doing the same. For instance, there are AI generated videos circulating on TikTok, X, and Instagram, showing coordinated Middle East assault on Israel. And of course, that has not happened, because so far we have seen that even some Arab countries, Middle East countries like Jordan, um UAE, and even Saudi Arabia, have kept quiet about what is happening. They've issued statements, but it's very obvious that they would rather not have uh, a radical government the in Tehran again, because the proxies, as they are called, of the Iranians, the Hezbollah, the Hamas, and the Hutus, have not uh, hidden their disdain for these countries, not just because they are Shiites, but because they believe that these people have not joined them. As well, several of the videos circulating are old and unrelated videos. Uh, there's a nightmare rocket launch video claimed to be from World War III, which was actually a picture from 2021. Uh, of course, even the Iranian state media broadcast footage of wildfire that it's presented as Israeli war damage. We've had false headlines from chatbots, AI, and these are generating a lot of tension around. Uh, there was also one that published that the Israeli prime minister had become a psychiatric patient and had committed suicide. And we also have reports that reports that have really no basis in fact, and some of these are shared by people around without knowing that some of these videos that are circulating about destruction in Israel or destruction in Iran, or that people had committed suicide, or people are running in their hundreds of thousands, a lot of them appear to be fake news. But then, what is Iran, and why are we having this problem in Iran? I'll round off by talking about the situation in Iran, and I'll share my screen to talk about it. Now, are the people in Iran Arabs, or what are they really? This is one of the issues. So let's look at the screen. You can see from my screen the ethnic composition of Iran, sorry, not Iraq, that 61 to 65% of people living in Iran are people that are called Persians. And the Persians people is a tribe that is not the same thing as Arab, very distinct from Arab. You also have the Azerbaijani Turks. You have the Kurds. You know the Kurds are in Turkey. You have the Lurs. That's you have the Arabs. The Arabs in Iran actually are just between 1 to 3%, and then you have the Balochis. There are Turkmens and Turkic tribes and other people. You can see you have 61 to 65% are Persians, and the Persians are the people that the people. For those who know a lot of history, there has no history. The Persians are a tribe that a group that has had relations with the Jews. They conquered Jerusalem, conquered Israel at a point, and the Jews were taken there and they were working as slaves there until one of the Persian kings called Cyrus decided to free the Jews and help them build the temple in Jerusalem. Uh, so that is the much that we know about the Persians. And if you move down on the screen, you see the Persians typically amount to about 61%, but they are also divided into some other groups which you may call clans if you want. The Azerbaijanis, the largest Turkic minority. They form about 16 to 18% of the population. The Kurds range between 7 to 10%, and you have minorities and others, and other smaller ethnic groups in that country. But so far, uh, since 1979, who are those that have been ruling Iran? The first supreme leader who led the revolution or the revolt that overthrew the Shah of Iran was somebody called Ruhollah Khomeini, and he was the supreme ruler, and he belonged to the group, the tribe called, belonged to the Persian tribe. The person that followed him was also Ali Khamenei. He was supreme leader. He was of the Azerbaijani ethnic group. You have the one that followed, and then the president of Iran from 1980 to 1981 was a Persian called Abul Hassan Bani Sadat. You had Muhammad Ali Rajai, who was president 1981 to a Persian. Then in 1981 89, you had Ali Khamenei, who was president. He was of the Azerbaijani Turk extraction. And then you also had someone called Akbar Hashmi Rafsanjani. He was the president between 1989 and 1997, a Persian too. You had Mohammed Khatami, who also a Persian, who was president from 1997 to 2005. And then you have Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, who was president from 2005 to 2013. And then you have Hassan Rouhani, who was president from 2013 to 2021, also a Persian. You have Ibrahim Raisi, who was president from 2021 to 2024, also a Persian. And then you also have Mohammed uh, Mokba, who was president from May to July 2024, also a Persian. And then you have the current president, Masoud. He's been president He's from the Azerbaijani Turk. Well, as you can see from what we have on the screen, the top leaders have been predominantly Persians with significant representation of the Azerbaijani Turks. Most of them hail from central or northern regions, and the trend showcases the dominance of the ethnic Persians in the highest political roles, with some ethnic diversity among recent leaders. Uh, of course, from what we do know, the Persians, because of their majority position, have been the ones dominating political power in that country. And of course, it will be necessary to explain just before we close, why is it that the Western countries appear to be on a different block, different position with the United States over the case of Iran. As you do know, as at present, President Donald J. Trump has yet to take a decision on whether he will use the bunker busting bomb to destroy the nuclear facility in Fordo. Of course, it is understood that President Donald Trump had insisted on his advisors telling him, showing him whether the bomb will have the ability to do the work that it is intended to do. Of course, opinion along that line is divided. There are many that say that the bomb would not be able to burst the facility because it is reinforced by concrete for up to 200 meters, and be it is below a hill or a mountain. There are those that think that that ought to be done. European groups, the foreign minister of UK flew to the United States to meet with the Secretary of State, and thereafter they are hosted up in Europe now, discussing with the foreign minister of Iran on the peace talk. Iran introduced new issues into the the talking points. That is, why should it disarm itself while Israel has a nuclear weapon too? Of course, this was not what was on the table before. It is not what is Israel's possession of a nuclear weapon is not part of what has been on the negotiation table. So it's a new thing, and it is thought that the Iranians may want to prolong the discussion and see whether it will be possible to it will be possible to delay everything until President Trump leaves office. But of course, it's very obvious now that even though President Donald Trump has been uh, taking credit for a lot of things that are happening, it is unlikely that the Israelis will listen to him, because it does appear the Israelis have convinced themselves that they are fighting an existential war. And if they are fighting an existential war, and Iran has been responsible for arming the Hezbollah, the Hamas, the Houthis, and the Hezbollah in Iraq, it is unlikely that the Israelis will listen to whatever Donald Trump says. In any case, the Israeli Prime Minister said they will continue to fight, and even if the United States, does not help them with the bunker busting bomb, they will go ahead to do what they can to make sure that the facility is destroyed. Whether they are able to destroy the facility or not, is a different matter. But what is obvious is that as at present, several countries, especially countries like Russia and China, are not willing to support a regime change because they have agreements with the current Islamic government in Iran, and they've been selling oil to them under the table. And so it does appear that they will be threatened if a new government that is aligned more to Israel or the United States comes in. The Europeans, on the other hand, appear to be afraid of a regime change because if there is a regime change in Iran, one of the things that will happen, especially if the regime change is the one that is precipitated by the Israeli actions, it will appear that the new administration is likely going to be cooperating with Israel, and that will make a nonsense of the whatever rhetoric that are coming from Europe, because you will now have the uh, you now have some Arab countries working closely with Israel, and it will be difficult to keep talking about Israel in the context of not being friendly with all of the Middle East. And in any case, it was said it has become to the open that part of the reason why Hamas uh, struck on October 7th, 2023, was the fact that it was carrying out instructions of Iran, which was afraid that with Trump coming to power, the Abrahamic uh, accord was going to be signed. And if Israel had gone ahead to sign the accord with UAE, Iraq, UAE, and UAE and Saudi Arabia, then it will be a problem for Iran because it will be completely isolated, and the rhetoric of the rhetoric that it it is opposed to that Israel is opposed to is fighting everybody in the Middle East will no longer be uh, viable. Well, uh, an alert has just come in at this moment. Uh, Iran's uh, Iran's media is just reporting now that Hussein Taib, the former head of the IRGC intelligence, who was ousted in 2022 and replaced by Mohammed Kazemi, has just been eliminated by the IDF. And this night, the Israeli Air Force is still going around hitting several places in Iran. And the report has just come in that they have hit uh, the Iranian Revolutionary Guards target in Shiraz area. Uh, just a second. Just a second. Let me see whether I can share the picture of the news on the screen. Okay, that is the picture that is coming in just now. The area has just been struck at Shiraz. Uh, been struck by the Israeli Air Force. And also coming in now, the Iranian uh, the Iranian foreign minister is just raising a very serious issue now about the negotiations that are taking place in uh, showing the screen now. The Iranian foreign minister is saying, we do not know how we can trust the Americans now. So uh, it appears that the crisis still has a long way to go. So it means that we'll be having a very long night, and in the morning we'll see how it's going to be. Uh, well, some reports earlier in the day show that there has been an earthquake in Iraq, Iran, sorry, not Iraq, a 5.1. Let me show the story as it's coming in. Yeah, it's saying that a 5.1 magnitude earthquake has just been reported in northern Iraq. Well, we are still going on. Hope was that the discussion that is taking place in Europe will result in having some quiet, but it does appear that we still have a long way to go. And the Israeli chief of staff, Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir, says that Israel is preparing for a prolonged campaign against Iran to eliminate what he called an existential threat. He warned that Iran had reached an operational capability in its plan to destroy Israel with around 2,500 ground to ground missiles and a production rate that would have reached 80,000 within 2 years. So, what is your take about what is happening? Is it is it possible to have peace within the region? Join us tomorrow for another round of discussion. We'll bring you more updates as they happen tomorrow. Thank you very much for being part of us. Let's have your views. What do you think can be done to solve this problem? And what will be the fate of the Middle East if the supreme leader of Iran is taken out? Please remember to share our videos, to like, and to subscribe if you have not subscribed yet, so that YouTube will uh, recommend our videos to other people to watch. Once again, thank you for being part of this evening's update.